I remember the moment those words hung in the air. Your past is not what I expected. It felt like time stood still for a second, the weight of those words pressing down on both of us. I thought I knew everything about her, or at least everything that mattered. After all, we'd shared so much. Our dreams, our fears, the things we both loved and hated. But the past has a way of slipping through the cracks, waiting for just the right moment to reveal itself. And that moment had come. She stood there, watching me closely, waiting for my reaction. Her fingers twitched nervously at her sides, betraying the calm exterior she was trying so hard to maintain. The tension between us was palpable. I could feel her fear, the fear of my judgment, even before she spoke. "Say something," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I swallowed, trying to process what I had just heard. It wasn't like I was hearing about something that had happened yesterday. No, this was a part of her past. Things that she had carried with her for a long time, things I hadn't known. I just didn't expect this, I muttered, struggling to put my feelings into words. My mind was racing, trying to grasp the gravity of the situation. "I know I should have told you sooner," she said, letting out a quiet breath that was a mix of relief and frustration. I could see the weight of her guilt, the way her shoulders seemed to sag under the burden of her past. Her words caught me off guard. She had kept so much hidden, and now I was left wondering why. Why hadn't she shared this with me earlier? Why had she waited until now, until the moment when I thought I knew everything about her? The silence between us felt suffocating, each second stretching longer than the last. I could feel my thoughts swirling, fighting to find an answer. The past shouldn't matter, not if we were serious about building something together. But the truth was, it wasn't that simple, was it? "Why didn't you tell me before?" I asked, finally breaking the silence. She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor before she spoke again. "Because I was afraid you'd look at me differently," she said softly, her words hanging heavy between us. That fear was something I understood. No one wanted to be judged for their past, especially not when they had worked so hard to become someone different, someone better. Still, I couldn't ignore the swirling images in my head, the pieces of her life I had never known, never even imagined. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to say that nothing had changed, that she was still the same woman I had fallen for, but I wasn't sure anymore. "Did you ever think I'd find out?" I asked, my voice quiet, unsure. "I knew it was a possibility," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with sadness. "But I wanted you to know me as I am now, not as who I used to be." I looked at her then, really looked at her. The woman standing before me wasn't the same person she had been before. That much was clear. But did that change how I saw her? Could I accept this new part of her life? It's a lot to take in," I admitted, my voice low. She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I get it," she said softly. "But you need to tell me. Does it change the way you see me?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her that nothing would change, that I saw the same woman who had stolen my heart. But the truth was, I didn't. No yet, and that scared me more than anything. I needed time to process everything, to understand what it all meant. "It's not that I see you differently," I said after a long pause. "It's just, I never thought this would be part of your story." She exhaled slowly, her eyes momentarily dropping to the floor. "Neither did I," she said quietly. "But life doesn't always go the way we plan, does it?" I couldn't argue with that. My life hadn't gone according to any perfect script either. I had my own past, my own mistakes. But even then, there was something about this that made my chest tighten. The knot in my stomach was real, and it wasn't just about the shock of hearing her past. It was about the fear of losing her, of not knowing if I could truly accept everything she was. "Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked, my voice tentative. She bit her lip, her eyes searching mine. "If I felt like it mattered," she said quietly. If I thought it would change things between us. I could see the honesty in her eyes. But there was also fear. Fear that I wouldn't understand, that I would walk away once I knew the truth. "And now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Now?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with vulnerability. "I don't know. Maybe it doesn't change how I feel about you, but I can't control how you feel about me." That was the part that made my stomach twist. She was right. I couldn't control my feelings. They were my own, and they were complicated. I didn't want the past to overshadow everything we had, but it wasn't that simple. Feelings weren't something I could just turn off, no matter how much I wished I could. The silence stretched again, longer this time, but it felt different. It wasn't suffocating anymore. It was more like an understanding between us, a quiet agreement that we couldn't rush this. I needed time, and she was willing to give it to me. "I need time," I said finally, my voice steady. "Not time away from you, but time to process everything. This isn't easy." She nodded, her eyes softening. "Take all the time you need," she said. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" I asked, unsure of what to expect. "Don't let the past define what we have now," she said, her voice steady, but filled with a quiet plea. I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman who had become such a huge part of my life. This wasn't just about her past anymore. It was about whether I was strong enough to accept all of her, the good, the bad, and the parts I hadn't seen coming, and I didn't know if I could. I sat there for a long time, letting her words sink in. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if I could process everything she had told me, but I wasn't ready to walk away yet. I just wasn't. "I don't want to lose you over this," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But I also won't beg you to stay." That hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't asking for my approval. She was asking for my understanding, and I couldn't give her that right away. Not yet. I rubbed my hands together, trying to gather my thoughts. "You're not. I just don't know how to react to something I never saw coming." She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I get it. I really do." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence felt different this time, not heavy but quiet. It was as if we were both trying to find our way through this, trying to make sense of everything that had just been revealed. Finally, I spoke. "I just need to understand it. I need to understand you." Her eyes softened and she nodded. "Ask me anything. No more secrets." I hesitated. There were a million questions running through my mind, but I didn't know where to start. "Were you ashamed of telling me?" I asked after a long pause. She shook her head. "No. I was afraid of how you'd see me once you knew." That hit me harder than I expected. She had been carrying that fear, not about what she had done, but about how I would judge her for it. "Do you still hate yourself?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could stop it. She blinked, taken aback by the question. After a long pause, she shook her head. "No. I had to forgive myself. I had to, in order to move forward." Her words made my chest tighten. She had been through so much, and she had come out the other side stronger. But what about me? Could I accept all of her? The woman she had been and the woman she had become? "Then why did you think I wouldn't?" I asked quietly. "Because sometimes people don't forgive as easily as we forgive ourselves," she whispered. Her words hit me harder than I expected. She was right. Some people would walk away, unable to look past the mistakes of the past. But I wasn't just anyone. I didn't want to be that person. "I'm still here," I said, my voice steady. "And I'm still listening." She searched my eyes, looking for reassurance, for understanding. I didn't have all the answers, yet, but I wasn't ready to give up on her. Not yet. "There's more," she said, her voice quieter than before. I swallowed hard. I wasn't sure if I was ready for more, but I knew one thing. I wasn't ready to walk away. Okay, I said finally, keeping my voice calm, though my mind was racing. What else? She took a deep breath, preparing herself. I didn't tell you everything, because I was afraid. Afraid that you'd see me differently. Afraid you'd think less of me. I wanted to tell her that I didn't think less of her, but I needed to hear the rest. I needed to understand it all. I used to be someone I'm not proud of, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Someone who made choices out of fear, out of desperation. Someone who didn't always do the right thing. I stayed quiet, letting her speak. I wanted to understand, to hear everything she needed to say. I've hurt people, she continued, her voice thick with emotion. I've lied. I've done things I never wanted to do, and I hated myself for a long time because of it. I could feel the weight of her words settle in my chest. This wasn't just a woman telling me about her past. This was a woman who had survived, who had grown, who had learned from her mistakes. Do you still hate yourself? I asked gently. She shook her head. No. I had to forgive myself. The weight of everything we had just talked about hung between us, but in that moment I realized something important. Her past didn't scare me. It didn't change how I felt about her. But the future,